Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show with local celebrity hosts Steve-O and Renee. Sit back each week while Steve-O and Renee educate you with live in-studio experts, such as lawyers, doctors, home improvement, and financial experts in their field. Call in and have your questions answered each week at 888-565-1470. Now, here is Steve-O and Renee with today's expert in their field.
Good afternoon and welcome to another Ask the Experts. I love doing today's show because this company can get people out of a lot of trouble, get rid of those sleepless nights, and I'm going to do something different today. I am going to give a formal introduction, which I probably have never done before. I want to tell you about Barry Fowler. He's the president and founder of Taxation Solutions. He's an enrolled agent. He's licensed to represent taxpayers before the Internal Revenue Service, those bad guys. And he's a long-standing member of several tax industry professional organizations, including National Association of Enrolled Agents, and we're going to get to that. And we're going to explain what an enrolled agent is, and the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers, just to name a couple. Barry has got amazing experience. He's got a staff of people. They're in 50 markets now, and we are lucky enough not only to have Barry on our South Florida show, but we have him on 5 other of our Ask the Experts across the country. So please welcome our friend, Barry Fowler. Hi, Barry.
Hey, Steve-O. It's always a pleasure to be on Ask the Experts with you.
Hey, man, you know what? I don't want to brag or anything, but Renee and I were just nominated top 5 AM personalities for, I think it's called something different in Houston, but here it's called New Times. Huge. So we're really excited about that. So,
oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it.
So I'm on with a star.
Now get out of here. Not even close. I'm going to ask you some different questions today, because I know you get asked different questions in other markets across the country. And I want to start off with, I keep hearing about tax scams that are going on out there.
Well, yeah, and not only do you hear about them, but so many people are experiencing them these days. And I mean, it starts with, a lot of times, just a phone call and acting to be a IRS agent, giving out badge numbers, threatening to have the police there if they don't go out to their local store and get them a debit card, preload it with money, and then call them back and pay them a bunch of money. Well, first off, the IRS does not make phone calls unless they're already in contact with you via letter. Now, the IRS just changed a couple policies here recently, because the IRS, if you were under audit, there were times in the audit manual they would let the agent go ahead and call. But because of this and because of all these scams of the telephone calls, they've changed that policy now, and the first contact's going to be official letters from the IRS. Now, the big difference here is these guys are just after collecting money from you and scamming you, and a lot of times they prey on the elderly. I mean, even my parents have received that phone call, and the first thing they do is call their son and go, "Hey, is this true?" And I'll say the same thing I said to every one of our potential clients or somebody that calls us for a consultation on this. First up, do you owe the IRS any money? If the answer is definitely no, never received a letter or anything, don't even bother with them. Don't call them. Don't mess with them. Unless you just want to have fun like me, and then I'll lead them on and have a great time, just like I do a lot of other telemarketers.
Well, you know, South Florida's known we've got a much older demographics, and all the scam artists come to South Florida because, you know, there's a lot of older people that live down here. So I'm sure our listeners have probably heard about this, or hopefully it hadn't happened to them, but wow, I mean, where do they send the money to, Barry?
Well, when they're calling, they're going to be, when they call these guys back, what they're doing is basically sending money overseas to these people on these debit cards. And a lot of these people would be very lucky if that's all they gave them was the debit card. But these guys are asking for Social Security numbers. They're asking date of birth. They're getting all your personal information. So if you just gave them a debit card and let's say it was $500, you're out $500. But once you give them all the other information, where does it end? It's identity theft, and they're running these scams very, very well because there are people falling for it every day.
Well, I told you we've got some different questions today. Here's one that's actually from an email we got. It says, what is required by the IRS for record keeping and for tax purposes? We've never gotten into that before.
No, we haven't. And, what the IRS is wanting you to do is keep the support for your last 7 tax returns. So if you have information going on there, you need to make sure you have the support for the last 7. Now, people will go, why is that? Well, the IRS can only go back and audit 3 unless they find something materially wrong, and then they can go back 7. Now, what we tell people is this. If you have something that's on your return that will be on your return for multiple years, even if it's longer than 7 years, let's say rental house. You bought a rental house maybe 10, 15 years ago. You want to keep all the records on that rental house and all the taxes that apply to that rental house from when you start having that rental house to the very day that you sell that rental house, and then another 7 years after that, because you don't want the IRS to have questions and you not have support. As goes with any fixed asset that you may be claiming on your tax return, keep the records for the fixed asset as well.
Do you see in your business, because you're all over the United States, do you see in your business with people moving as often as they move that sometimes it's harder to keep all these records for such a long period of time?
Well, we find in this business it's hard for people to keep records for 3 years, whether they've moved or not. It's one of those things that you think, hey, I don't need this. I've filed my tax return. They haven't done anything for the last couple of years, so let's just get rid of it. It just, it's collecting dust. I know my father taught me to keep records and keep a lot of records, so I probably have every tax return I've ever filed. And I know my dad, when my grandfather passed away about 5 years ago, he handed me records of my grandfather's taxes that dated all the way back to 1922. So my grandfather had records for a very, very long time. All we're asking is 7 years. I know it's difficult, but you got to keep those records. Now things happen. We've seen floods in Houston. We've seen tornadoes in the Midwest. We've seen hurricanes, right in South Florida here. And things do happen. You do lose records. The IRS can be a little bit reasonable if you got somebody on your side helping you.
And who might that be?
Well, there's only one company out there that I would ever call, and that's Taxation Solutions by far.
Oh, you got it. So sometimes if someone doesn't have tax records, are you still able to win with the IRS? Taxation Solutions.
Oh, yes. We win all the time against the IRS. I get the pleasure of being able to sit in my office and see the wonderful things that come through here. And, it's amazing what we are able to get the IRS to be willing to do, willing to accept. But it all starts with making sure you have the right people on your side and the right people helping you.
I'm going to say this because in my business, we're constantly looking for new shows, and we do a lot of Googling. And I got to tell you that in your business, you got to be really careful on the people you deal with, because it seems one day they're there, the next day you're gone. Barry, tell everybody how long you've been in business for.
Well, I've been doing this myself since the early 1980s. Yes, that dates me, but I've been involved in the tax business and tax resolution business for a very, very long time. Taxation Solutions, my company, has been doing this now for 11 years.
Long time, Barry. That's a long time in this business.
It is. And you know what's really interesting? We get asked this question all the time because sometimes we will ask people to make a decision if they're going to use us because we're very selective of who we're going to work with and how many clients we take. And they asked me, well, okay, well, you only gave us, a few days to review this engagement letter because, one, we want you to make a decision. Two, we don't want you to wait any longer. You already waited long enough. Three, we're deciding to go and do business with you and work on your case, and we're not taking some other people because we want to make sure we got the time to do your case right and do your case justice and not just take everybody and anybody. If we were here and had 1 million people working for me, I could deal with everybody in the United States. But the hundreds of people that do work for me only have limited time, and we want to make sure that we can take care of everything we promise we're going to do for you and do it the right way. And that's the only way I would ever do anything.
And we know, Renee and I know that, not only that, you tell people if you can help them or not. Whereas a lot of these companies, you hear these horror stories that they take your money first, and sometimes you don't ever even hear back from them. But we know for a fact with you, if you don't feel like you can help them, you tell them that up front. And I definitely commend you for that.
A couple things right up front. And the first thing we're going to tell them is, one, we could pretty much help anybody fix their IRS problem, but it's got to be worth spending the money with us to actually fix the problem. And you got to be willing to actually cooperate and work with us. And we get that feeling right on the phone with you. If you come across that you don't really want to fix your problem, we know it. We can ask the questions. We can ascertain whether or not you're going to actually work with us to do it. The second thing is a lot of times you're calling me and you're saying, I just got done off the phone with XYZ resolution firm, and they told me right off the bat that they could settle this thing for, oh man, I hate this word, but I use it every now and then, pennies on the dollar.
Right, exactly.
And, we sit down and we analyze their situation, and they're going, why are you asking us all these questions nobody else has? Because we need to know, when we sign you up, is this going to work for you? Are we going to be able to save you a lot of money? Are we going to be able to put you in the lowest payment plan? And will you qualify for the programs that we have that we can put in place to lower this to the lowest amount allowed by law? There's a lot of times we'll tell you right up front, hey, that company is completely wrong. You have too much in assets, too much money in the bank. You make too much money to qualify for that pennies on the dollar. And here's what we need to do, and this is how we do it right. And you choose, hey, I'm going to run over here and go pennies on the dollar. You'll be calling me in about 3 to 6 months after you finish paying them, and they're going to tell you, well, I'm sorry, you only qualify for a payment plan, and now you're paying $1,000 a month. And you're going to call up and go, Mr. Fowler, I know what you told us you can do. Can you still do what you said? Well, let's talk about your situation. It may have changed. And we got to go back through the same thing. But that's why we offer the free consultation, the opportunity to sit down and talk about what your tax problem is and what the best solution is. But it starts with making that phone call to
right.
us.
And it's not one size fits all, is it, Barry?
No, not at all. It's, everybody's different. We've got programs for everybody. And, we'll run everybody through our programs, and we'll come up with the best solution. We'll even make a plan with you how we can change what you're currently doing to make it better for your tax settlement with the IRS or with the state. Because we handle both.
Before we go to break, I just got a text, and this person wants to know, and we'll do it when we come back from break, wants to know what is the longest any person has gone without filing their taxes that you've worked with, and what did you do to help them? So that when we come back, we'll go to that. You got the Ask the Expert show, and we'll be right back.
IRS audit? Or do you owe back taxes, money that you don't have? The IRS is not your friend, and they are not there to help you. They add fear and stress to your life. Now you've been avoiding their letters and calls. Maybe you have seen the letters for wage garnishment, or they levied your bank account. It's not too late. Taxation Solutions helps people in situations just like yours every day. Dealing with the IRS can be intimidating, which is why they handle everything for you. Taxation Solutions has the top tax attorneys and enrolled agents. They know how to handle the IRS and know what it takes to stop them in their tracks. Taxation Solutions' goal is to get you a permanent solution to your tax problem and help you get your life back and save you money. Don't put off getting help for another minute. Every day that goes by makes the IRS more aggressive and causes you further financial damage with bank levies and wage garnishments. The only risk here is not making the call today for a free consultation. Call Taxation Solutions today, 780-600-4351, and tell them Ask the Expert sent you. That's 780-600-4351, or log on to taxationsolutions.net. 780-600-4351.
And we're back. We're talking with Barry Fowler. He is the president of Taxation Solutions. We had just gotten a text from Angel. I don't know if that's a male or a female, from Coral Gables. And they basically are asking is, what is the longest client you've had that went without filing taxes, and what did you do for them?
Well, first off, let's get the right phone number out, because I just heard that ad at 786-600-4351. It's 786-600-4351.
Thank you.
Want to call us, and we're more than happy to help you. Check us out at taxationsolutions.net. Here's the thing. The longest we have seen out there was close to 15 years.
15, Barry?
15 years.
Wow.
Now, we didn't have to go in and file all of those. Some of those we went ahead and left as SFRs, which SFRs in our terminology and the IRS is substitute for return, meaning the IRS already filed those returns for them. And there's reasons we'll leave them out there that way, even though they're more money than what would actually be if we filed the actual return. A lot of it has to do with how the statute of limitations run as well, and some of that debt would fall away. What we do is we file the returns that are actually required by the IRS to start putting a solution in place, whatever that solution may be for that particular client. But we sit down and we look at, all the ins and outs and everything we've got to do to make this work for that particular client. Now, when it all came down to it, he walked in probably owing close to $250,000, if I remember correctly, because they were all substitute for returns for the most part, except for the last few years. We filed a bunch of returns and got rid of a lot of that current debt. Some of the older debt was falling off with statute of limitations running out. And then we submitted offer to settle the rest of the debt. I believe in this case, I think we were settling maybe for $100.
Wow. How far can they go back, Barry?
Well, the IRS really varies. Most of the time when we start dealing with them, they're going to be looking for, the last 3 to 5 years. But if you have not filed and they have not done substitute for return for you that you've accepted, then they can go all the way back. Usually we stop at around 2000, 2002. But that's because the IRS doesn't really have much information going back usually beyond that. And at that point, we can start moving forward with putting the right solution in place for our client.
Wow, that's amazing. That's because we've never really talked about that before. But basically, just about, not everything, but just about any problem a person have, if they call you, you can pretty much, I guess, put them in the right place, the right position, and get them back started on their feet again.
Oh, very definitely. What our goal is that, one, let our clients get some rest and get some sleep, because we know they've been stressing over the tax problem in the IRS and dealing with them. 2, we start the solution right away in that we start dealing with the IRS so that the only contact the IRS has is us. They don't ever have to talk to the IRS again. And if the IRS ever calls them once we have power of attorney and you're a client, you give them our name, our phone number, and tell them that we represent you, and then hang up the phone, and then pick up the phone and call us and just let us know, because we'll get all over them for calling you. Because they have no right, once we have power of attorney on file, to call you. They have to call us. We are your representative. Now, most cases that come to us are people that have not filed maybe in the last 3 years to the last 7 years. And, we get amazed every day of how long people can go without filing returns. But, it happens. And a lot of times it's just ignoring those letters. They're easy to go, gosh, if I don't open this one, I don't have to deal with it. I know I haven't filed, and they're telling me I owe money, but I don't want to deal with it today, so we just throw it away and we let it go. The best thing you can do is pick up the phone and call us. And we have a no-judgment zone. I think Renee started that for us. He said,
right.
Hey, you guys have a no-judgment zone, don't you? I said, yeah, exactly. We don't pass judgment on anybody. We hear about the problems, and not all the time is the IRS right. So we even look at that to see why the IRS is claiming you owe money, and they could be completely wrong. And we deal with that as well.
Barry, give everybody your phone number again and your website.
It is 786-600-4351, 786-600-4351, and it is taxationsolutions.net. You can get everything you need to know about us. We have a lot of information on our website about tax problems and the way we solve tax problems. So check us out. We are accredited by the BBB, and very proud of it because we're A+, and we keep it that way because we're going to stand behind what we do for our clients and how we do business for our clients.
Tell everybody why they should not try to handle working with the IRS themselves and to call a company like yours. Because I know, we've been doing this long enough to know there's a lot of reasons why they shouldn't try to handle the IRS themselves.
Well, I kind of put it in the terms my wife puts it to me, and probably puts it to everybody, every husband out there. You're really going to do the plumbing yourself? And as soon as I finish, she picks up the phone and calls the plumber so they can come in and fix the problem I just made worse. That's why you don't do it yourself. One, I'm not a plumber. You're not a tax professional. You're not an enrolled agent. You're not a tax attorney. You're not licensed to do this. It's kind of like going into a court of law and representing yourself. They say, if you represent yourself in court, you got a fool for a client.
Right.
And you're the fool. So I can put a lot of those wonderful little sayings together, but we talk about this all the time. And I get people that call me and say, hey, I want to do this myself. And that's fine. You can go do it yourself. When you get in trouble, make sure you have my number handy. Yeah. It's 786-600-4351. Again, it's 786-600-4351. Because here's what's going to happen when you first pick up the phone with the IRS. And I just finished talking to a gentleman a while ago about the same thing. What did the IRS agent ask you? Well, they asked me where I banked. Great. What else did they ask you? How much money did I make? How much do I have left over at the end of the month? And then proceeded to tell him that he had to make a $1,000 a month payment. And he goes, but I can't make a $1,000 a month payment. I can't afford that. I only have $200 at the end of the month left over. Well, you're going to have to come up with a way to pay $1,000 a month, and I need it to start in the next 30 days. Well, in 30 days, when that client, he's going to be a client because we've just talked to him about signing up. But at the end of 30 days, if that client didn't come to me and get me involved, he doesn't make that $1,000 payment, that IRS agent now has everything they need to start garnishing your wages because they know where you're working, especially if you've changed jobs recently.
You usually call it the roadmap to your bank account.
And now they're going to levy your account, and you're going to have nothing left on after payday. congratulations. You just gave them the best GPS coordinates to everything you have.
Well, this is why you should call. Don't even get started with them, because, like Barry said, you could say the wrong thing. This is not your forte. This is what Barry does for a living. He does this every day. He's got agents that work for him. He knows what he's doing. Don't even attempt it, because your business is kind of like, if you don't pay me now, you're going to be paying me later.
That's exactly. And, we hope that if you decide you're going to go it alone, that, hey, you get it right and you're able to keep the IRS off your back, or you got the money there available to pay. And a lot of times you'll call me and you have the money available to pay, and you're just wanting to figure out if you can get something less, and we'll tell you honestly, hey, this is what you need to do, and sometimes it's in your best interest to go ahead and pay it. But we'll also tell you honestly that, hey, we can settle this thing for, a lot less. I signed up a client. I went out, personally met with this guy because he was trying to bring all his bookkeeping and payroll and everything else to us. So I went out and had a personal meeting with this guy and found out that he had almost $35,000 in tax debt. And he's like, I just can't afford to pay these guys, and they're wanting all this, and basically I sat down with them and said, hey, this is what we could do. And I told him point blank, I think we can settle this thing right around $3,000. Well, we just got the final offer and compromise accepted back on May 5th. And I actually got him settled for $2,028 off of $34,021 that was due.
Amazing. You're a magician, bro. Listen.
We do this every day. Just
yeah, I know.
Call and let us do consultation.
Barry's with us every month, and his phone number here is 786-600-4351. Barry, give them your toll-free number in case they've got friends in other cities.
If you got friends or family anywhere in the United States, even outside of the country, have them call us at 888-930-1016, 888-930-1016. And you can always go right on our website, taxationsolutions.net. It's .net. We're the safety net between you and the IRS. Again, taxationsolutions.net. We've got a contact page. If you don't want to call us, you can go through the contact page, give us the information, and we'll get back with you as soon as possible.
Name of the company is Taxation Solutions. The phone number is 786-600-4351. Barry, we'll talk to you again next month.
Kivo, thank you.
Thanks for all the great information.
And I love being on Ask the Experts.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, we're going to go to break right now. When we come back, we've got attorney Tina Lewert. We'll be right back.
IRS audit? Or do you owe back taxes, money that you don't have? The IRS is not your friend, and they are not there to help you. They add fear and stress to your life. Now you've been avoiding their letters and calls. Maybe you have seen the letters for wage garnishment, or they levied your bank account. It's not too late. Taxation Solutions helps people in situations just like yours every day. Dealing with the IRS can be intimidating, which is why they handle everything for you. Taxation Solutions has the top tax attorneys and enrolled agents. They know how to handle the IRS and know what it takes to stop them in their tracks. Taxation Solutions' goal is to get you a permanent